Hi, everyone. I'm Els. That wonderful song you just heard is the theme tune to Monkey Dust. If you don't know it, Google it later. You are in for such a treat. It's a satirical animated series, which is about the weird and wonderful, but mostly weird, ways of human behavior. And human behavior, people, yeah, that's something I'm fascinated by. Don't get me wrong. I like data, I like analytics, but people is where my heart is, which is why user testing and user research is probably my keen interest. Now, user research is pretty much at the heart of everything we do at AGConsult as a company. We help people create better websites, help increase their conversion rates. We've been doing that since 2001. And I have to tell you, since I first started over 15 years ago, the field of user research has really changed. I mean, those pretty click maps and scroll maps you like looking at so much with the rainbow colors, we didn't have those. Form analysis tools didn't exist. User session recordings, people, we dreamt of that stuff. I mean, we didn't even have Google Analytics. Can you imagine? Yeah, it was a long time ago, you know. What we did have was user testing, and we still have that, and I feel it's underused, which is why I want to talk to you today about moderated user testing, and I'll also show you some of my favorite unmoderated user testing tools. Now, let's start first. What's the difference between moderated and unmoderated testing? Well, moderated testing means it's a one-on-one setup. You have one test moderator interacting with one test participant at a time. This is very important. Moderated user testing also means you usually test with only a few people at a time, 5 to 10 people per iteration. It makes a lot more sense to test with 5 to 10 people, fix the issues you found, and then test again with 5 to 10 people. A lot more interesting than to test with 20 or 30 people at once. Because you have this one-on-one setup, you also get really deep insights. You get really thick data. You get to learn really what the problems are, and more importantly, you get to find out why something is a problem. And that is what makes user testing unique in respect to other user research methods. Now, I stress the fact of this one-on-one setup quite a bit because it's very important. User testing is not a group activity. So, and this is why I get just a little bit annoyed when people start talking about focus groups as a way of user testing. Because they're not, okay? Focus groups are a great way to generate ideas, but as a user testing tool, they are absolute crap. I feel very strongly about this, and I feel everyone should. So if you could do me a huge favor and repeat after me, a focus group is not a user test. You disappoint me, Stockholm. That's okay. I forgive you. You went to the Afterfest and it was late. That's okay. In this one-on-one setup, the role of the moderator is very important. I'll tell you 3 things that are key. First of all, the moderator's job is to set the test participant at ease. She has to make this person feel comfortable. She has to make this person feel relaxed, that they can open up and share. Second, ask the questions. And third, and this is very important, observe. Okay? Moderation is not about talking. Hold up. If it's not about talking, aren't I forgetting to tell you something? Shouldn't I also tell you that you should listen to the user? Nah, I'm actually with Jacob on this one. Don't listen to users. Oh, really? Yeah. What people do is far more important than what they say. Because when they start talking, they start, well, lying. They don't mean to lie to you, But especially when they start talking about future behavior, they're just guessing. You know, oh, no, I hadn't seen this element on the left side of the page, but I'm sure I would have if it was on the right. Or really? You're sure? You have a crystal ball? Not reliable. Also, when they talk about likes and dislikes, don't listen too much, because likes and dislikes don't have a big correlation with what people do. We do a lot of things we dislike, and there are a lot of things we theoretically like which we don't do. I mean, who of you likes Ryanair? Who of you has flown Ryanair? Liars. User testing, observation is key. Unmoderated testing, there is no moderator, so there is no interaction. This means your questions have to be crystal clear. They should leave as little room for interpretation as possible. Because there is no interaction, you can reach out to a lot of test participants at the same time. But make no mistake, this is still qualitative research. We are not talking about statistical significance here. We are talking about seeing patterns in the results that you gather. Okay, so those are the broad strokes, the differences between moderated and unmoderated testing. Now, typical question that comes next, which is best? Well, I can say after my 15+ years of experience and having worked with pretty much every testing methodology out there, my definitive answer is that, yeah, it depends. Come on, you all saw this guy coming, right? Of course it depends, and usually it'll depend partly on time and budget, because that always plays a part. Let's be fair, it's the real world here. But what it should really depend upon most is your research question. I mean, you don't do user testing or user research for fun. You don't do it just because. You do it because you want a problem solved. You do it because you have a question and you're looking for an answer. And the type of question you have dictates the kind of testing that you should do. Your research question dictates your research method. Now, let's have a look at a few different research questions and the methods that are best. Sometimes you have a very big question. You might have a question about the concept of the new app you're building, or you want to get a good feel of the entire flow of a website. This is when moderated user testing is best. Now, there are 3 types of moderated user testing I'd like to talk to you about. And the first one is the classic in-person testing with the 2-room setup. In the 1 room, you have your moderator, your test participant, and everything they say, everything that happens on the screen is recorded. In the other room, you have your team observing the test. Everything that happens in the test room is shared on the screen in the observation room. And yeah, like Katarina said, there are some myths about this setup. Some people say you need a test lab with a 2-way mirror to do this kind of user testing. I call bullshit. I mean, you're supposed to set the test participant at ease, and then you're going to put them in a room that looks like a police interrogation chamber? Everybody knows there's people watching you behind the mirror. It's creepy. You don't need it. The only thing you need to do in-person user testing is 2 rooms, more or less close together, 2 laptops, user testing software like Camtasia or Moray, a mic and speakers, and a beamer. That's it. That is your mobile user testing setup right there. You're good to go. You can test anywhere. Which neatly brings me to myth number 2. And that is that you should never test in the client's offices, because it will intimidate your test users. Now, I'm a bit more nuanced on this one, because sure, if your client is the type of company that has their logo plastered over every wall, chair, and coffee cup, then yeah, it'll be pretty hard to get unbiased answers from your test participants. But if your clients' offices are like mine, sure, their name is on the bell, but otherwise pretty normal office, then I can tell you, mostly not that big of a deal. I mean, I've done a lot of user testing in our clients' offices, and, well, I've heard people say some really nasty things about some very big brands in their very snazzy offices, so not that much of an issue. The reason why I really like testing in the client's office is because I can get their whole team to watch the test. Copywriters, designers, developers, marketing, they're rarely in the same room together. User testing can make this happen. I try to basically make that day also a workshop to make the observation a team exercise. Like Thomas said yesterday, it takes a team to succeed. This is very important. Also, watching person after person after person fail at the same hurdle on your website, that really hits home. That really makes you want to change that interface. That really makes you want to change that flow or structure. A lot more than when I, as an expert, just can present my report afterwards. Now, another benefit of in-person user testing is eye tracking. A lot of marketing people like eye tracking because, again, it gives good picture eye tracking, doesn't it? You can, again, get the pretty heat maps, which are a lie, by the way, if you test with less than 30 people at a time. And you can see the pretty red squiggly lines. I have nothing against eye tracking. We use eye tracking when we do in-person testing. But eye tracking has its limitations. It's especially interesting for people in the observation room to really get a good feel of where the test participants' attention is, where they're really looking. But do you really need eye tracking? I would say no. The real insights from in-person user testing don't come from any tool. They come from observation and using your brain, which is also why guerrilla user testing is so interesting. Now, in guerrilla user testing, you do away with the whole technical setup, and you go out into the wild, where your users really are using your product, your appliance in their natural environment. This type of testing is especially interesting if the context of use is important. For example, if you're testing an app that is meant for doctors and nurses to use while they're making the rounds in hospital, well, it doesn't really make sense to invite these people to come to your office and sit them down behind a desktop computer. That is not how they will be using this app. They will be using it probably on a tablet. Most likely, they'll be standing up, maybe even walking around. Do they sometimes have to show it to the patient as well? All of this is crucial information for you to know to increase the user-friendliness of that experience. Now, I've mentioned time and money before, and sometimes time and money prevent us from going out to the user, prevent us from even inviting them to our offices. And this is when remote moderated testing becomes interesting, because here, nobody has to go anywhere. You can just sit behind your desk, the test participant can sit behind their desk, and all you need is web meeting software to connect the two of you. We use GoToMeeting and Zoom because you can also share your screen there and record the test. That's pretty much it. You've got your remote user testing set up right there. This setup is also especially interesting if you only want to test small portions of your website. If you have a research question that you anticipate will take no more than 20 minutes, great way of testing for that as well. If possible, I would always encourage you to ask the test participant to put on their webcam, because a large part of in-person user testing is seeing a person's face, because words can lie, expressions, not so much. Looking at a person's face can really tell you a lot about an interface, about a product. Now, I love moderated user testing, but as I said, it is not always the right method for every research question. If your research question is about structure, is about information architecture, and especially about information architecture of a large government website, say, or a hospital intranet, then tree testing is probably a better way to go. Now, we use TreeJack for this, and it's a tool that allows you to do it online. What you do is you upload the tree structure that you made in Excel into the tool, and you set a number of tasks, much like you would do in a moderated user test. Now again, take care to be really clear in formulating these questions. Next thing you do, you invite test participants. Depends on who you want to invite to the test, the method you choose there. If you want to invite your clients, send them an email. Maybe use some of the tricks that Nancy taught you to get maximum response there. If you want to cast a wider net, distribute the link via your social media channels. If you want to reach out to people who don't know you yet, find out where they hang out online and distribute your test there. How it works is people come to the web page, see the tree, see the question, and they simply click through the tree and say, I'd find it here. This is where I'd find the answer to my question. I don't know if you speak Dutch, but this is a bathroom kitchen store, and we were looking for a sink for in your guest bathroom, and we found it. Now, this is a great tool because it helps you to reach out to a lot of people at once, and when it comes to questions about structure, you really want that. But it's even better because you get so much data from the answers. You not only get to see the success rates, but also the level of directness. Did people immediately take the right route, or did they have to backtrack and go around? You also see the time taken. And, most interesting for me, you see every individual path for the task. So if there's a lot of red in your pie chart there, that's actually a really good indication of where you should be putting something, because that's where most people went to. They got it wrong in the test. No, you got it wrong in your structure. That's where you should put it. So it gives you great insights for improvement there as well. But hey, maybe your research question isn't about structure. Maybe your research question is about a landing page or a home page or product page. Maybe it is about crafting that page to such a degree that every element is precisely right. Yeah. Now, you're probably thinking, seriously, Els, I know you like this user testing shizzle, but testing pages, this is what A/B testing is for. You're partly right. If your website is live, and you have enough visitors, and you have enough conversions, then yay, A/B testing for the win. Statistical significance, hooray. If this is not the case, I would argue for screenshot testing or first-click testing. What you do here is you upload a screenshot, and this can be a screenshot of anything. It can be your existing website, but it could also be your competitor's site, or it could be a prototype. It could even be different screenshots if you want to compare different versions. And again, you ask a number of questions, and you invite people to participate. We did this test for an insurance company client of ours. We actually did it in several iterations because they wanted a new homepage. They wanted to test a lot of different designs. And as you can probably tell, not all of the designs were my idea. Yeah, banners, 2002 called. Yeah, no. But hey, I don't want to argue with the client because then it becomes opinions. No, let's all test it. So we did. Now, we asked a lot of questions. One question we asked was, you want to retire comfortably later. Does this insurance company have something for you? Now, the banner that the marketing department wanted says, you want to retire comfortably. We have a solution for every situation. So they thought, hey, at least for this task, we're on for a big win here for the banner. Yeah. In the tool, Chalkmark we use for this, but you can also use Usability Hub or Usabilla. You can see the answers in a sort of click map. But that really doesn't give you enough data. So what you can do as well is you can delineate the area in which you want the clicks measured to see the exact amount of people and the percentages. And we see, okay, there was 20% who clicked on the banner, but there was 25% who clicked on the teeny tiny word retirement in the menu. So here's your big-ass banner losing to your teeny tiny word. This is not the only question we ask, of course, in the test, and it won't surprise any of you, probably, but yeah, the banner version didn't win. Now, there's another research question that is really good for user testing, and that is clarity. If people see your page, do they go, ah, or do they go, ooh? That's an important question, and it's a question that Ollie raised this morning. And this is what the 5-second test is for. Contrary to the screenshot test, where people can take as long as they want to click for the answer, the 5-second test, you see the screenshot for 5 seconds, the user gets shown 1 to maximum 3 questions. Keep these questions super simple, people. They need to be about things that have to be clear in those crucial first few seconds. And then they get to see the screenshot. Now, I was a bit amazed by Ollie's responses this morning because it felt like these people had made quite a bit of an effort to come up with an answer. When we did the test for our client, for their landing page, not so much. No. Yeah, apparently they didn't even have time to think of a wrong answer. They just said, no idea. And this really tells you, okay, you know, content is a problem here, copywriting is a problem here. Now, there are loads more tools out there to do user testing. And a lot of them are great. But I hope I've inspired you not just to have a look at those tools, but to really have a look at user testing and reaching out to people to make that part of your process. Because I guarantee, if you get to know the people who use your products, your services, you'll learn a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Els. It really, when doing user testing, it really helps to be passionate about it, like you are, doesn't it?
And I have been for over 15 years, so yeah, there must be something good.
And it's still as much fun?
I think so, yes. I can honestly say I have never done a user test and not learned something new. Yeah. And I have done a user test on a website of a Kiwi brand. Okay? So, yeah.
There's always something new to learn in user testing.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks.